Nah, cause this one I'm really gonna rip a new asshole. I don't need to do that. Actually, yeah.
We breaking that black barrier every single day, every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what break mean, man. What
Come
they
on,
look
man.
like?
What is black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man.
Huh?
The Copper Color King Cash Moles and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up for understand what black is. It's the essence, it's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called for Apache. Huh? The Bronx was called for Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby. For all the ancestors out there, baby.
We're gonna get this one started real soon. I just want to try to get a couple more people in this stream specifically, because what happened, what we seen recently with Donald Trump, yo, that was crazy, bro. Hoax or not, that was crazy. Talk about badass. Listen. This is gonna be a good one, y'all. I just want a couple more people to get in this stream, man, because we're gonna go crazy, man. But listen, coloring book is out now. If you want to enter the raffle, hit the DM Copper Color King. First 5 people I get to interact getting the free copy. It's a coloring book, so if you got kids, you're gonna enjoy it. But we're gonna wait and get some more people in this live stream. Just stick around. I promise y'all. Stick around. Y'all will not be disappointed. Let's get it.
need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there is unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right, to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Aren't uprisings all over the country? Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there is unrest in our lives.
Man, the Democratic propaganda machine works 24 hours, bro. The Democratic propaganda machine works 24 hours. You got folks like Maxine Waters saying that they'll punch Donald Trump in the face. You got actors on live television saying what would happen if the president got shot. This is real life. Real life. You got people out there questioning what would happen if they did something wrong to Donald Trump. Bro, the Democratic propaganda machine works 24 hours. Before I even go into this live stream, right? I want y'all to check this clip out. Check this out, man. This brother about to go off. Listen to this. Let's get this clip open. Follow on TikTok, y'all. Copper Color King, man. We go crazy. Check it out.
They're slaves. Republican President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, free all slaves in America. Democrat slave owners were furious. Lincoln made equality for all black people part of the official Republican Party platform. Republicans wrote and passed the 13th Amendment, ending slavery forever in the United States. Most Democrats voted against it. Republicans wrote and passed the 14th Amendment and granted citizenship and equal protection under the law to former slaves. No Democrats voted for it. Republicans wrote and passed the 15th Amendment, allowing black Americans the right to vote. No Democrats voted for it. The first black senator was a Republican. The first black member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a Republican and former slave. In fact, the first 23 African-American members of Congress were all Republican. While Republicans were electing black people to Congress, the Democrats were founding the KKK. The KKK was founded in opposition to the Republican Party. The KKK dedicated itself to a campaign of violence against Republican leaders and voters, both black and white. The KKK wanted white supremacy fulfilled through electing Democrats. Democrat states passed racist Jim Crow laws that dehumanized black people. Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower sent the National Guard to protect black students, integrating into all-white schools in Little Rock, Arkansas. Who opposed this? The Democrats who ran that state. A segregationist Democrat ran for president every cycle until the 1980s. The Civil Rights Act outlawed discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, or sex. By percentage, more Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Act than Democrats. Republican President Nixon used federal powers to desegregate even more states. Black Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas nominated by George H.W. Bush. His son, George W. Bush, started an AIDS program that saved over 13 million lives, mostly in Africa. President Trump restored funding to historically black colleges and universities. President Trump passed the First Step Act, achieving landmark criminal justice reforms. President Trump passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which featured opportunity zones incentivizing long-term investments in low-income communities. Under President Trump, unemployment for black Americans fell to the lowest number Americans have ever seen, and black wages rose to the highest numbers in history. Meanwhile, Democrat governor of Virginia wears blackface multiple times and remains in office while Joe Biden tells me I am not black unless I vote for him. So tell me, who are the real racists? Who wants to keep you in bondage? Be free. Live free. That is my rare slaves.
Now, I don't want to give too much credit to the black Republicans, right? Or to the Republican Party. Because like I exposed in my recent videos, those folks who were a part of the NAACP and some of these black political or Republican parties, they were communists, right? These parties were backed by communists. So I don't want to give the Republicans too much credit. One thing we got to understand about politics is that you have the left, you have the right, and then there's always going to be the middle. The middle, well, those would be the people that we know as the deep state. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that. I ain't going to go too much into that. I'll save that for the folks who really get into conspiracy and stuff, man. We just talk about the truth. Moral of the story, regardless of that, black people held power in America at one point in time. And they did this hand in hand with the white Republicans here in America. And we back this up when we talk about the Reconstruction era. Now, that was an era in America where black folks was bussing. Like, I mean, we had everything. We had everything that we could possibly ask for, especially in the South. But they don't teach us that, right? They don't teach us that. I feel like the high schools or the schools in general where they screwed up is they only taught us one side of American history. One side. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about finances. And we don't talk about true history. We're going to always pay homage to the indigenous people of America because that's where our bloodlines tie us back to. But as time went on, a lot of these families were ushered into these bourgeoisie communities, these black Republican communities. And while we were hustling and bustling for our rights, being able to vote, ownership, businesses, you know, economics, creating institutions, even though I hate that term so much because who wants to be institutionalized? It still helped black America progress in some way, shape, or form. I may hate on Booker T. Washington for his theory on putting people in schools, right? But then at the same time, in the direction that America was going in, the best thing to do would be able to teach us these trades so that we can get ahead in this world. The Democrats did not want that. They didn't want none of that. None of that. None of that. And I've been telling people this since 2014. 2014. That was my first year of college. Going into college, I was telling people left and right, like, yeah, we don't gotta vote for Mitt Romney, but do not vote for Barack Obama. Do not vote for Barack Obama, because what that is right there is them taking a person of color who don't even fit the description. Like, he don't even step or sound like a dude like us, right? Put him in power, blackface the whole scenario, while people in the background is ship-shifting everything. And then you got Barack Obama, who's really good at planning things out, orchestrating the Democratic Party, you know, doing all of those criminal acts over there in the Middle East, screwing us up over here in the West, in America, you know. And then they blame Donald Trump for inciting race riots and whatnot. Well, the number one thing that these people did was put a black man in power just to get people mad. Just to get people mad, as if black people actually really care. We don't care. We just want to live, right? We don't care. We just want to make a bag and live. And I speak on behalf of so many other black people that's out there, because you go and talk to them about politics, they don't know none. They don't know nothing. They're not educated on this stuff. But like I said, bro, I'll leave it to them, right? We leave it to the rest of the people here in America to make the decision, right? You got the freedom to vote for whoever you want to vote for. But we see what's going on. We see what's going on. They hit my boy Donnie up, right? Regardless if it's a falsified scenario, right? Regardless if it's a staged scenario or not, we still witnessed here in America an attempted presidential assassination. And then what my boy did, got up, held his fist up. We gonna keep fighting. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. You know, we talk that freedom for everybody stuff, you know, returning back to the roots. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but in America that we live in today, we gotta keep going. We gotta keep up with the times. We gotta keep up with the times. But I say this, right, because I want to introduce something to everybody, right? I don't want people to think that I just be out here chatting. The Democratic Party were really the founders of the KKK. They were really the founders of the KKK, right? History of the Democrats and the Ku Klux Klan. Why the Democrats started the KKK. Got this for y'all, right? What else we got? Whitewashing, the Democratic Party's history. And then, if y'all don't remember, when we was talking about the Reconstruction era in America, we learned that the Democratic Party used propaganda to divide white and black people. The Democratic Party used propaganda to divide white and black people. Not only that, but they used the KKK to stage coups here in America. Here in America. To overrule votes, like the voting system. I'm trying to find a part for y'all so that we could really go back in time. Right? The Democratic Party founded the KKK and used the KKK to stage coups, sort of kind of like how they use BLM today. Antifa. Like, we can really talk about those things, but see, me personally, like, you know, going too deep into that, I've watched some things happen to people that, yeah, I mean, if you all tuned into Young Pharaoh at one point in time, then you know what was going on, right? Look, when Democrats regained control at different moments in different states in many areas, they reversed the Republicans' course. For instance, Democrats passed laws that favored creditors and employers over laborers. And they reinstituted in racially neutral terms harsh vagrancy laws akin to those passed during the immediate post-war years. And when rural workers managed to organize for better conditions, Democratic governors readily called out their militias to break strikes and support the resumption of low-wage plantation agriculture. They called out their militias. This is something that these folks been doing since the 1800s, y'all. So we gotta understand, man. This is why I say, like, they didn't teach us politics. Right? What they did, Democrats ran sophisticated propaganda campaigns to scare white populists back into the party, raising fears of black domination and particularly inventing stories of black male rapists. These white populists were willing to work hand in hand with black agricultural laborers. Tom Watson, a Republican, aimed to unite white and black farmers, but after these propaganda runs that I keep talking about, these propaganda runs by the Democrats, it screwed all of that up. We've had multiple chances to end the race problems here in America. And every single time one of these bastards get in the house, right? And I'm not talking about, because some Republicans can be bastards too. They all working for the middle. Because capitalism is another form of communism. You got righteous capitalists and you got communist capitalists. Sort of kind of like the frauds that created the bourgeoisie that we had here in America, right? The black frauds, like the LeBron Jameses of the 1800s. Yeah. These propaganda campaigns ruined us. Like, we could have been made different changes here in America, right? But due to the propaganda runs, it made it damn near impossible. Right? And I'm trying to find the part, because once I do, I'm going to blow y'all mind. Right? I always go through this, but it's okay. It is all right. It's okay, because we can always get back to it. I just showed y'all. So we see it. It's in the facts. The Democratic Party used propaganda to push their narrative. They started that nonsense. It was them. The capitalists, the Republicans, was in our face with it. They was in our face with it. President Johnson, he impeded Republican goals in 1866 and 1867 by vetoing the Civil Rights Bill. There would have been a civil rights movement in the 1800s if Andrew Johnson did not veto that bill. There would have been a civil rights movement. But even then, gotta understand, even that movement, right? I always want to bring it back to the truth. Martin Luther King Jr. and J. Edgar Hoover low-key was best friends. Nah. They hated each other, right? But he still stood hand in hand with some of these upperclassmen, right? So the civil rights movement, we all know there was 2 Rosa Parks. It's a lot that's behind that. There's a lot that's behind that. So that's why I like to always narrow it back to the truth. But still, when we talking about what we got going on in the world today, right? We would have been had a civil rights in 1867, but Johnson vetoed it, and he was doing anything that he could in his power to hold the Republicans back. Because what the Republicans was doing, freeing the slaves, giving people power, allowing them to create economic institutions to build wealth and feed their families. These DemoCracks, these damn DemoCracks was not with that. They ain't want none of that. Why? Because they hate us. They hate us. They will always and forever hate us. I mean, everybody gonna hate us just because we copper colored. But then at the end of the day, these specific people, they did everything in their power. Everything, right? Everything. It's so funny because there's a book called The History of the Old Cherwas. And I have the book. And I read some of it. I'm actually going to bring it to the channel eventually. I'm eventually going to bring it to the channel eventually. And it actually talks about the start of the American Revolution, right? Like, it wasn't always Democrats and Republicans, right? It was usually Whigs and Tories. That's what it was, Whigs and Tories. One group of people stand for independence here in America, freedom from the British crown, and then you had another group that was like, nah, we loyal to the crown, and that's what it was. And after the American Revolution, they didn't really change anything different. Like, all they did was gain freedom and kept their ways that they brought up from Europe over here. They kept the same ways, same institutions, same everything. It just became theirs. And that pretty much talks about the history of this stuff. So once I go into that, after breaking this down and going through this book on the Reconstruction era, I want my followers and my subscribers to gain a bigger understanding of politics here in America. What it started with and what is most likely going to finish with. I don't think we're going to have another president after all of this. I'm going to be honest, but I found the part. So it says, many white Southerners believed the new biracial regimes had been illegally imposed on them by the U.S. government and felt justified in resisting. DemoCracks, sometimes through organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan, resorted to intimidation, violence, and fraud to influence the outcome of elections. African Americans sometimes found ways to fight back, organizing into militias that fought with force. We don't do that no more, though. We don't do that no more. Why is that? Because we dumb as hell. We're not united like how we used to be. This stuff even divided us because you had a upperclassman and a lowerclassman after all of this. Democrats still got their part of the job done. Whatever their goal was, they accomplished their goal. And that showed, like, it displayed itself in our Hollywood production. You know, the news outlets, the TV in general, the idiot box. It's all left-wing media. It's all left-wing media. Right, but yeah, the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan resorted to intimidation, violence, and fraud to influence the outcome of elections. The DemoCracks started the Ku Klux Klan. Or shall we say, invested in the Ku Klux Klan. Let's go through the article. What it say? History of the Democrats and the KKK. Why the Democrats started the KKK. Right? The original targets of the Ku Klux Klan were Republicans, both black and white. According to a new television program and book which describe how the Democrats started the KKK and for decades harassed the GOP with lynchings and threats. An estimated 3,446 blacks and 1,296 whites died at the end of the KKK ropes from 1882 to 1964. People wouldn't notice though. They killed off 1,200 white people. People wouldn't notice. Because we look at this stuff on a black versus white scale. It's not like that. It's political. The documentation has been assembled by David Barton of Wallaby Moore Elders and published in his book Setting the Record Straight, American History in Black and White, which reveals not only did the Democrats work hand in glove with the Ku Klux Klan for generations, they started the KKK and endorsed its mayhem. Of all forms of violent intimidations, lynchings were by far the most effective. Barton said in his book, Republicans often led the efforts to pass federal anti-lynching laws, and their platforms consistently called for a ban on lynching. Democrats successfully blocked those bills, and their platforms never did condemn lynchings. They blocked the bills. They blocked lynching bills. So while they was out here lynching rich black folks, black and white Republicans was fighting to put out anti-lynching laws. And the KKK and the Democrats, they blocked those bills. And lynchings were never condemned. Further, the first Grand Wizard of the KKK was honored at the 1868 Democratic National Convention. No Democrats voted for the 14th Amendment to grant citizenship to former slaves. And to this day, the party website ignores those decades of racism, he said. Although it is relatively unreported today, historical documents are unequivocal that the Klan was established by Democrats, and that the Klan played a prominent role in the Democratic Party. Barton writes in his book. In fact, a 13-volume set of congressional investigations from 1872 conclusively and irrefutably documents that fact. Irrefutably. You cannot refute these facts. Irrefutably documents that fact. The Klan terrorized black Americans through murders and public floggings. Relief was granted only if the individuals promised not to vote for Republican tickets. And violation of this oath was punishable by death, he said. Since the Klan targeted Republicans in general, it did not limit its violence simply to black Republicans. White Republicans were also included. Yeah, we getting into the nitty gritty. This is why I say American history is not based off of black versus white. We gotta ditch that. Because that's propaganda. That's what they want you to believe. That all white people hate you and that all white people have something against you. And it's not true. It's not true. People think this is a false reality, but would you believe that there's white people that will help you get ahead more than black folks out here? A brother will kill you to get what you got. If you got something, a brother will kill you. I mean, that's because we in survival mode. But a brother will kill you to get what you got. He'll put you on a t-shirt. He'll put you on a tombstone. Just to take everything you got. So racism is a propaganda term. That's what we gonna call it. Screw it, even if that's not a word. Propaganda. That's a term. Right? But yeah, what else? It says the Klan terrorized black Americans through murders and public floggings, right? Barton also has covered the subject in one episode of his American Heritage series of television programs, which is being broadcast now on Trinity Broadcasting Network and Cornerstone Television. Barton told WND his comments are not a condemnation or endorsement of any party or candidate. But, and it's going to pick up, but look, the Republican Party was founded to end slavery. The first Ku Klux Klan was founded in 1865 in Pulaski, Tennessee by Democrats. Around this time, the Reconstruction era, right? What we talking about, the same series that we putting this in, that we adding this to, is exactly what we're talking about. They started this this Ku Klux Klan to combat the the Republican Party that was endorsing black people, right? They were endorsing black people. This is when black people were achieving some type of wealth. I mean, you know, the mulattoes, or we gonna call them, like, when in Mexico they call them criollos, right? Criollos. These is mulattoes, some Melungeons, you know, the terms that we could give them. Check out the history of the Melungeon series. These people having that ancestry. But as you can see, they're all Masons. They're all Masons, these black folks. Right? So they not like us. Obviously, it's a difference. But still, when we talking in terms of colored people and we playing this color game, here you have people of color holding positions of power. And they did not like that. Right? But look, rather a warning that voters even today should be aware of what their parties and candidates stand for. His book outlines the aggressive pro-slavery agenda held by the Democratic Party for generations, leading up to the Civil War, and how did not die with the Union victory in that war of rebellion. Even as the South was being rebuilt, the votes in Congress consistently revealed a continuing pro-slavery philosophy on the part of the Democrats. 3 years after Appomattox, the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granting black citizenship in the United States came before Congress. 94% of Republicans endorsed it. 94%. Did y'all just hear that? 94% of the Republicans endorsed that, granting black citizenship. 94%. Not all of the Republican Party was black, right? Some were white, mixed race people, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, even though they don't obviously represent us, because we still ain't really get anywhere. I mean, we have more freedom and we have the option to go out there and obtain some wealth. But still, you know, it's kind of like you still got to work and go to school and stuff like that. That whole thing is lame, right? But whatever, you know. And in ancient times, we ain't have to go to school. You know, our ancestors taught us everything and we lived off the land. I mean, if you really want to talk about freedom, that's freedom. We don't live off the land. You got to pay for water. And I think that's a problem. Right, but yeah, 94%. When we talking in terms of politics and what's good for the country and who really stands for us or whatever, 94%. I want y'all to understand that. They shot my boy today. Donald Trump is one of them people, right, who does not represent no middle ground, no left, no right, none of that. The man has his own money, right? His own money. He has more money than some of the majority of the politicians that we know of today. He got more money than Biden, Kamala Harris, and them combined. Trump can pay for America if he really wanted to. And this is why they hate him. Because one man has all this power. This is one man with so much power, and it's crazy because he rock with the people. He rocks with the people. And this is why Mike Pence stepped down, right? His punk bitch ass. If we're going to talk about it, he stepped down because he do not rock with the people. Mike Pence is extreme right, capitalist right, Mitt Romney right. Right? You feel me? And this is it was okay with him because what Trump gonna do? Right? Even though Chef G and Sleepy Hollow probably got paid, he still was able to be on a podium with two young brothers, right? And pop and talk that ish, right? Kodak Black. Right? So people can't say that he don't rock, or like, you know, he can have his personal feelings, but he can still sit in a room with colored people, right? If it's business, we're gonna get it done. And that's all we really need to care about as black people, is business. How we gonna get this money, right? Because when you start putting race in between that's when you start putting your emotions in it, right? That does not matter. Let's get this money. This is what Donald Trump represents. Let's get this money, black America. Right? I don't care what you got going on. You're a male, female, even if you like the opposite sex. I do not give a damn. We're not even going to objectify it, right? You still a human being. That's why all of that other stuff is weird. Because it's all leftist. Extreme shit. Extremists. We're going to call it terrorist propaganda. That's what we're going to call it. Right, but The records of Congress revealed that not one Democrat, either in the House or the Senate, voted for the 14th Amendment. Barton wrote 3 years after the Civil War, and the Democrats from the North as well as the South were still refusing to recognize any rights of citizenship for black Americans. Democrats in the North, majority of them. That's going to be majority of them always. He also noted that South Carolina Governor Wade Hampton at the 1868 Democratic National Convention inserted a clause in the party platform declaring the Congress civil rights laws were unconstitutional, revolutionary, and void. Right? It was unconstitutional to recognize black Americans, according to the Democrats. DemoCracks. It was the same convention when General Nathan Bedford Forrest, the first Grand Wizard of the KKK, was honored for his leadership. Barton book notes that in 1868, Congress heard testimony from election worker Robert Flournoy, who confessed while he was canvassing the state of Mississippi in support of the 13th and 14th Amendments. He could find only one black in a population of 444,000 in the state who admitted being a Democrat. Only one black. And it's so funny. You go to black people today, you ask them. Me and my pops was just talking about it earlier, and I'm telling him, I'm like, yo, you see they shot Trump, and he got the audacity to really say what he said, and it's crazy to me because I'm like, bro, you know your grandparents like suffered under this democratic stuff. Like, I'm telling him, and he's really not recognizing it. Thousands of black people are like that today. When Jeezy made that "My President is Black" song, black people went crazy. It took a song. It took one song. Music. The music. And this is why I play lo-fi beats. We play chill beats when we on all these copper colored beats. We own these beats because that rap, that vibrant, that frequency, we cannot get down with it. We can't get down with it because when Jeezy made that "President is Black" song, what it did made a lot of people go and make a bad decision, and we still suffering from the bad decisions today. Taxes is high as hell. I hate the amount of taxes we got to pay, and then we take the taxes they take out on our checks is crazy. It's crazy, right? But we're gonna continue. So what they said, right? It was the same convention when General Nathan Barton. Oh, we read that part. Sorry, y'all. Nor is Barton the only person to raise such questions. In 2005, National Review published an article raising similar points. The publication said in 1957, President Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican deployed in the 82nd Airborne Division to desegregate the Little Rock Arc schools over the resistance of Democrat Governor Orville Faubus. The brother in the TikTok video just talked about this. He just said President Dwight Eisenhower, and he was a Republican, and he did serve. He served. That's the crazy part. Yeah, he served in the military. And he wanted to desegregate schools. Further, 3 years later, Eisenhower signed the GOP's 1960 Civil Rights Act after it survived a 5-day, 5-hour filibuster by 18 Senate Democrats. And in 1964, Democratic President Lyndon Johnson signed the 1964 Civil Rights Act after former Klansman Robert Byrd's 14-hour filibuster. And the votes of 22 other Senate Democrats, including Tennessee's Al Gore Sr., failed to scuttle the plan. But look, a Democrat signed the Civil Rights Act. So like I said, even that was not created for us. It sabotaged us. Black people, right? Rosa Parks, the fake Rosa Parks, did that whole back of the bus stuff. Black people still ride on the back of the bus. I promise you, faithfully. Till this day. Till this day. So did it even matter? Did it even matter? Did it even matter? No, it did not. Not one stinking bit. The current version of the histories page on the party website lists a number of accomplishments from 1792, 1798, 1800, 1808, 1812, 1816, 1824, and 1828, including its 1832 nomination of Andrew Jackson for president. It follows up with the name change and the establishment of the Democratic National Committee, but then leaps over to the Civil War and all of its issues to talk about the end of the 19th century, William Jennings Bryan's, and women's suffrage. A spokesman with the DemoCracks refused to comment for the WND on any of the issues. "You're not going to get a comment," said the spokesman, who identified himself as Lewis. Why would the Democrats skip over their own history from 1848 to 1900, Barton asked. Perhaps because it's not the kind of civil rights history they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it. Why? Because it wasn't civil and it wasn't right. It stinked. Everything about it stinked. They stunk it up. Nothing about it was civil or right. It wasn't made for us. So they covered up 50 years of history. 50 years of history. Just so that the people in the 1900s, right, the civil rights movement of the 1900s, would not recognize them for the crimes they committed in the past. Because the first civil rights movement would have been established in the 1800s by Republicans. So how the hell did it switch? And what did we miss out on for 50 years? Well, the stuff they don't talk about is the Reconstruction era. The National Review article by DeRoy Murdoch cited the 1866 comment from Indiana Republican Governor Oliver Morton condemning Democrats for their racism. In 1866, Democrats got condemned for racism. They covering that stuff up. The condemnments of racism. They covered it up. 50 years of cover-ups. Fuck you mean? They covered it up. And people do not recognize the Democratic Party for what it was. They just recognize it for what it is, and it's starting to show its true colors. What you mean? You not black if you don't vote for me? What are you talking about? Everyone who shoots down Negroes in the street, burn Negro schoolhouses and meeting houses, and murders women and children by the light of their own flaming dwellings calls himself a Democrat, Morton said. It is also cited the 1856 criticism by U.S. Senate Charles Sumner R. Moss of pro-slavery Democrats. Congressman Preston Brooks responded by grabbing a stick and beating Sumner unconscious in the Senate chamber. Disabled, Sumner could not resume his duties for 3 years. Charles Sumner, a black man. A black man. Sorry. Different person I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Robert Smalls. Sorry. I'm thinking about Robert Smalls. By the admission of the Democrats themselves on their website, it wasn't until Harry Truman was elected that Democrats began to fight to bring down the final barriers of race and gender. That is an accurate description, wrote Barron. Starting with Harry Truman, Democrats began, that is, they made their first serious efforts to fight against the barriers of race, yet Truman's efforts were largely unsuccessful because of his own Democratic Party. Told y'all, left, right, and then there's the middle. And then you have those who just oppose whatever's going on in general. So here you have Harry Truman, a Democrat, who fought against racism and segregation and everything, and was unsuccessful because of his own folks. Sort of kind of like the Mike Pence and Donald Trump. Even though Mike Pence ain't got nothing on DT. My boy MAGA King, right? My boy copper colored MAGA. Nah, I'm crying. Let me stop, man. Even then, the opposition to rights for blacks was far from over. As recently as 1960, Mississippi Democratic Governor Hugh White had requested Christian evangelist Billy Graham segregate his crusades, something Graham refused to do. And when South Carolina Democrat Governor George Timmerman learned Billy Graham had invited African Americans to Reformation rally at the state capitol, he promptly denied use of the facilities to the evangelist, Barton wrote. Yep, that racism in South Carolina in the 1900s, right? While all of our family members was moving up here to the north, it was because of stuff like this. You couldn't even go to church because of these DemoCracks. These DemoCracks, these demon cracks. Right? What else? The National Review noted that the Democrats' Klan coddling today is embodied in Beard, who once wrote that the Klan is needed today as never before. I am anxious to see its rebirth here in West Virginia. Woo! Woo! What they said? Klan coddling. The Democrats over there Klan coddling. They need it today as ever before. That's something that they would say in politics today, but on some low-key slick shit. And nobody will catch on. They need him today more than anything before. Ooh, this is tough because this is the type of stuff that DemoCracks is on. Right? BLM. Propaganda machine. They are not ran by black people, y'all. It's not ran by black people. The article suggested a contrast with the GOP, which when former Klansman David Duke ran for Louisiana governor in 1991 as a Republican, was scorned by national GOP officials. You had a Klansman who tried to go under the Republican banner. See, like I said, under what's wrong. Probably a far-right commie, I ain't gonna lie. And they scorned him. Like, what are you doing? This is in 1991, right? While if I'm not mistaken, if not Clinton, it was Bush who was president. Let's check it out. Yeah, it was Bush. Bush was president at that time. And the Klansmen got scorned. And this is 91, so that's recent. That's recent. That means as of recently, they've been on that. Tough. Until 1935, every black federal legislator was Republican, and it was Republicans who appointed the first black Air Force and Army 4-star generals, established Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a national holiday, which is complete bogus as hell to me, and named the first black national security advisor, Secretary of State, the research reveals. These people were copper-colored. Current Secretary of the State Condoleezza Rice has said, the first Republican I knew was my father, and he still is the Republican I most admire. He joined our party because the Democrats and Jim Crow of Alabama of 1952 would not register him to vote. The Republicans did. My father has never forgotten that day, and neither have I. This is 1952. 1952. This is recent. A lot of this is recent. So here in the 50s, we see even then the Democrats was not jacking black people. So what would make people think that things change today? It's crazy because I hear a lot of people now saying they gonna vote for Trump. You know, they don't like what Biden is doing, but they wait till all this stuff happen and for everything to go down, for them to finally say, all right, they're going to vote Joe Biden. I mean, they're going to vote Donald Trump. Like, we already went through hell. And now people want to make that decision. Just don't vote at all now because you confused and you don't know what you're doing. Go do some research first. Go do some research first. And then you'll be able to point yourself in the correct direction. Ice Cube been trying to tell us. Ice Cube been trying to tell us. Barton's documentation said the first opponents of slavery and the chief advocates for racial equal rights were the churches, the Quakers, Presbyterians, Methodists, and etc. Furthermore, religious leaders such as Quaker Anthony Benzitt were the leading spokesman against slavery, and evangelical leaders such as Presbyterian signer of the Declaration, Benjamin Rush, were the founders of the nation's first abolition societies. So these were, of course, you know, people obviously who didn't look like us, but they were the first people who advocated for racial equality, quote unquote. And let's add the quotes because we all know that there's a hidden agenda behind a lot of that stuff. That's why I say the development of the bourgeoisie and whatnot, all of it was still to go against the people, you know, because we don't benefit from it. You know, it's still in some way we benefit from it, but in some way, shape, or form it's holding us back. Because like I said, who wants to go to school just to make a good amount of money, right? There should be equal wages, or people should be willing, you know, we should be able to farm and learn how to farm and live off the land and be agriculturalists and learn how to provide and be self-sustaining for our families, but they don't want to teach us that, right? That stuff is not the stuff that they want to teach you in school. They want to teach you how to be institutionalized and how to be industrialized, and that's about it. All right. During the years surrounding the Civil War, the most obvious difference between the Republican and Democrat parties was their stance on slavery. Barton said Republicans called for its abolition, while Democrats declared all efforts of the abolitionists or others made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery, or to take incipient to initiate, that means to initiate, or to initiate steps in relation thereto, are calculated to lead to the most alarming and dangerous consequences. And all such efforts have the inevitably tendency to diminish the happiness of the people. The Democrats stated basically, right, that slavery, abolishing slavery, would make people unhappy. While the Republicans is like, yeah, let's just get it over with, right? These KKK members wanted to, if these people, if we didn't have a Reconstruction era, we would probably still be slaves today. If slavery, if the Emancipation Proclamation had not happened, we would have probably still been chattel slaves today. We are still slaves. We're just labor slaves. We would have been chattel slaves, making nothing, little to nothing, but performing all of this hard work. Right? Wall builders also cited John Alden's 1885 book, A Brief History of the Republican Party, and noting that the KKK's early attacks were on Republicans as much as blacks, and that blacks were adopting the Republican identity in masses. In some places, the Ku Klux Klan assaulted Republican officials in their houses or office or upon the public roads. In others, they attacked the meetings of Negroes and displaced them. Alden wrote, its ostensible purpose at first was to keep the blacks in order and prevent them from committing small depredations upon the property of whites. But his real motives were essentially political. The KKK's real motives were essentially political. The Negroes were invariably required to promise not to revoke the Republican ticket and threaten with death if they broke their promises. Barton told WND the most cohesive group of political supporters in America now is African Americans. He said most consider their affiliation with the Democratic Party long term. Yes, that's like I just said. Most black people gonna rock with the KKK basically because they don't know or understand the history behind it. Right? They don't know. So it's all ignorance. It's due to ignorance. So once you lift the veils, those blinds, and you go do some research, you start to figure out like it's not what you thought it was. It's not what you thought it was. Right? It's not the same. Right, look what this say. One of the most egregious rewritings of history is the association of racism and slavery with the Republican Party through its vicious use of demagoguery. And what does this word mean? Let's check it out. A leader who makes use of popular prejudices and false claims and promises in order to gain power. Propaganda. Propaganda. Its vicious use of propaganda, stating that the term states' rights equals slavery. The half-century domination of the Democratic Party and Congress, as well as the liberal socialist bent of the news media, has led to the worst enslavement of blacks by the Democratic Party and progressive liberals. Note that the black Republicans are referred to as sellouts because they are, truthfully, right? But like I said, when we talking in terms of what's right and what's wrong, you know, that's why I say we can't give them too much credit. But then again, you could give them their props on some things, because you know these are people who associated themselves with communists. Not all, but some. But yeah, Uncle Tom's is another term, which is one that I don't like personally, because you just ignorant if you're gonna call a black person an Uncle Tom because they rocking with the Republicans. You don't understand history. So that Uncle Tom term just means you just dumb as a rock, right? You're going to call somebody an Uncle Tom you don't understand. Or the most egregious form of acting white. Brilliant men and women like Star Parker, Thomas Sowell, Walter E. Williams, Clarence Thomas, and Condi Rice are denigrated for their success with the word token, rather than exemplary models of success and citizenship to which all children should aspire. And then there we have it with that one. Now I wanted to go into another one while we still have some time, and I hope you guys are still follow me here, right? So look what this say. This is an article published by Mona Shireen in 2015, and I found it to be interesting because they talk about some interesting things that play a huge role into the politics that we see today. And the term whitewashing is used very, very, very aggressively. So let's check it out. So look, whitewashing the Democratic Party's history. This is their history. Here's what the former president of the United States had to say when he eulogized his mentor as Arkansas senator. We come to celebrate and give thanks for the remarkable life of J. William Fulbright, a life that has changed our country and our world forever and for the better. And the work he did, the words he spoke, and the life he lived. Bill Fulbright stood against the 20th century's most destructive forces and fought to advance against its brightest hopes. So spoke President William J. Clinton in 1995 of a man who was among the 99 Democrats in Congress to sign the Southern Manifesto. The Southern Manifesto. What do we have here? The Southern Manifesto. It was a declaration of constitutional principles. It was a document written in February and March of 1956 during the 84th United States Congress in opposition to racial integration of public places. So this was in opposition of racial integration. The Southern Manifesto was against integrating people. It was against it. And these 99 Democrats got together in 1956 with 2 Republicans and they signed it. No integration. Right? The Democrats, the same people that your boy Barack Obama, Bacrack, right, that everybody voted for and loved and praised him because he was black and quote unquote handsome. I'm handsome, right? I'm handsome, real life. I don't know where y'all get that other stuff from, but that's who y'all voted for, right? His folks, his peoples, They signed the Southern Manifesto that basically said, in today's world, your son wouldn't be able to go to one of the best football or basketball schools, right? Because they would be populated by a majority what? Right? Let's be realistic. Your kid wouldn't be able to go to a good school or go to a good doctor, right? Or live in a good neighborhood unless we made our neighborhoods better. But even then, those laws stopped us from doing that. And these were the DemoCracks. All right, so what else it says? The Southern Manifesto declared its signatories' opposition to the Supreme Court's decision in Brown versus Board of Education and their commitment to segregation forever. Fulbright was also among those who filibustered the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That filibuster continued for 83 days. Speaking of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, let's review. Since they don't teach this in schools, the percentage of House Democrats who supported the legislation, 61%. House Republicans, 80%. 80% of the Republicans supported the 64 Civil Rights Act. In the Senate, 69% of Democrats voted yes, compared with the 82% of Republicans who voted yes. Big change in numbers right there, right? Big change in numbers. A lot going on. Barry Goldwater, a supporter of the NAACP, voted no because he thought it was unconstitutional. Right? An NAACP supporter thought the Civil Rights Act was unconstitutional. You see weird stuff like that. Right? NAACP, communist regime. But why would a supporter of the NAACP vote no to the Civil Rights Act? Why? Ain't the NAACP supposed to represent the same thing, right? Like, why would he vote no? These communists. Wonder why. When he was running for president in 2000, Vice President Al Gore told the NAACP that his father, Senator Al Gore Sr., had lost his Senate seat because he voted for the Civil Rights Act. Uplifting story, except it's false. Gore Sr. voted against the Civil Rights Act. He lost in 1970 in a race that focused on prayer in public schools, the Vietnam War, and the Supreme Court. So even the Gores was against the Civil Rights Act, right? For those who don't know. For those who believe that they stood for it, right? This is facts right here for you. Show this to your parents, your auntie, your uncles. Show this to them because they grew up on this stuff. We even grew up on some of this stuff. Right? Where we at with it? Al Gore's reframing of the relevant history is the story of the Democratic Party and microcosm. The party's history is pockmarked with racism and terror. It is pockmarked with racism and terror. The Democrats were the party of slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, and that miserable terrorist excrescence, the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan. They were the party of slavery, black clothes, Jim Crow, and the Clue Blue. That miserable terrorist excrescence, the Ku Klux Klan. The Republicans were the party of Lincoln, Reconstruction, anti-lynching laws, and the Civil Rights Acts of 1875, 1957, 1960, and 1964. Were all Republican models of rectitude on racial matters? Hardly. Were they a heck of a lot better than the Democrats? Without question. Same thing till this day. Happy they pointed it out because it's 2024. It is 2024 and people are crying because Trump say things. Let's build a wall to keep the people, the the people who are crossing into the country illegally out. They crying because he's saying put up the wall. Granted, this is free land. Like I said, we take it back to the indigenous peoples of the land. But a 15-year-old girl was just raped in a shelter by a Haitian migrant. A Haitian migrant. Shout out all my brothers and sisters over there, right? Doing good for the community. Doing good, trying to help build their country because they know right from wrong. But we got stuff like this happening in America. You got Koreans and Japanese women in Queens right now opening up sex shops, sex parlors, standing out in the street 3, 4 in the morning. 3, 4 in the afternoon. Kids is getting out of school. They don't care. And they out there selling ass and selling coochie. Without no regard. These people are not from America. That is taboo here in our country. Taboo. It's even taboo if we talking tribal. We take it back to the ancestors. They wouldn't even approve of this stuff. This is bestiality. Caveman behavior. And it's happening all over the country. So when they say we're all Republican models of rectitude on racial matters, some may still have like, well, I'm better because I'm white or I got more money. They may have that view, but it does not stop or hinder us as a people. None of those ideologies that they may have, because they still invest their time and money into the things that may better the black community. So when they say were they a heck of a lot better than the Democrats? Hell yeah. As recently as 2010, the Senate's president pro tempore was former Ku Klux Klan exalted Cyclops Robert Byrd. The Senate's president pro tempore Robert Byrd. We just saw this word name in another one, in the last one. Rather than acknowledge their sorry history, modern Democrats have rewritten it. Pay attention. Modern Democrats have rewritten their history. So you won't know what you're dealing with. The Democrats have been sedulously, if that's I'm saying it right, rewriting history for decades. Decades. You may recall that when MSNBC was commemorating the 50th anniversary of segregationist George Wallace stand in a schoolhouse door stunt to prevent the integration of University of Alabama, the network identified Wallace as our Alabama. The Democrats have been sedulously rewriting history for decades. Again, their preferred version pretends that all the Democratic racists and segregationists left their party and became Republicans starting in the 1960s. And I was just having this debate with a person in my comments. They was like, oh, the party switched. Da, da, da. No, they didn't. They just rewrote the history and lied to you right in front of your face. Which is why you still a fan of W.E.B. Du Bois. You still a fan of them folks. If you watch this video, yeah, I'm talking to you. You still a fan because you don't know anything. They have been rewriting history for decades. How convenient if it were true that the South began to turn Republican due to Lyndon Johnson's passage of the Civil Rights Act. You would expect that the Deep South, the states most associated with racism, would have been the first to move. That is not what happened. The first southern states to turn Republican were on the periphery. North Carolina, Virginia, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, all Republican states till this day. If I'm not mistaken, Virginia may not be one and North Carolina might not be one. And I'm not sure about Tennessee, but Texas and Florida, for sure. George Wallace lost these voters in his 1968 bid. The voters who first migrated to the Republican Party were suburban, prosperous New South types. The more Republican the South has become, the less racist. Why you think people be moving down south? Let's make it make sense. Yeah, they still got sundown towns and stuff like that. Of course, those things are going to be around because you still got people who partake in that ignorance. But it does not mean that the entire state or the party is racist, or it does not represent good people. Like, white people still get locked up for stuff like that. Right? Every time they pull this cops killing blacks thing, it's propaganda. Because cops kill white people too. You can find those videos all over TikTok and Twitter. X. You go watch them. Cops pulling these folks over and folks driving off. And the shots ring off and they do what they got to do. It does not only happen to colored people. They just publicize that more. So that way you have a one-way track of thinking. You look at it as like cops hate black people. Granted, it may not always work in our favor, right? But it's not always like that, right? It really works like that in the Democratic states, for sure. Like New York sucks. It sucks. Get every Democrat out of here, ASAP. What else? It is unforgivable that Bill Clinton praised a former segregationist. No, Fulbright renounced his racist past, as did Robert Beard and Al Gore Sr. It would be immoral and unjust to misrepresent the history. What is unforgivable is the way Democrats are still using race to foment hatred. Remember what happened to Trent Lott when he uttered a few dumb words about former segregationist Storm Thurmond? He didn't get the kind of pass Bill Clinton did when praising Fulbright. Earlier this month, Hillary Clinton told a mostly black audience that what is happening is a sweeping effort to disempower and disenfranchise people of color, poor people, and young people from one end of our country to another. Today's Republicans are systematically and deliberately trying to stop millions of American citizens from voting. She was presumably referring to voter ID laws, which, by the way, 51% of black Americans support. Duped you in the head. Because why not have an ID to vote? Why not be 21 and older to vote? Why should young people be able to vote? They don't know nothing. The stupidest thing you could do is give a 15-year-old the ability to go vote. Because you could get on TV and say anything to get a 15-year-old to like you. They may not even know what's they're going to most likely vote for whatever their parents is voting for. That's how it was about to be for me until I started doing my own research. So why not be ID'd, right? It makes sense. The Democrats is staged the last election. So, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we got to think about it sometimes. Right? Racism has an ugly past in the Democratic Party. The accusation of racism has an ugly present. And we end it right there. Right? This was a dope article, both of these, because they really gave us some good insight on what's going on, right, with these parties, right? Like, and this is for people who don't want to vote. I'm going to give you some advice. Right? You don't want to pick a side. Right? Look at it like this. We can either take the evil that's going to be evil in our face, that gives us a chance to fight, or the evil that's going to cover everything up and sabotage you left and right, just to screw everything up. You got to pick your poison. Really, right now, I say pick your poison. Pick your poison, because truth is, your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your uncle, grandma, grandpa, if they voting, they gonna vote a Democrat. They gonna vote Democrat, right? It's not gonna change. It's mostly not gonna change. Most likely not gonna change. So pick your poison correctly. Take a look at everything that has been happening since 2020, pre-COVID. And go from there. And then go from there. That's my advice to the young folks. Right, I got some more for y'all. Check this out, right? Now, I thought this was extremely funny. Like, right, we're gonna end this off with some jokes. Right? Give us a chance to laugh. Listen to what this brother said about Trump. I thought this was extremely funny because he got a point. This is crazy. Check it out.
The president, well, the nigga that's running, Trump. He got shot, dog. They shot him. This nigga done been shot. This nigga done went to jail. He done scammed people. Is this nigga my uncle? Who the fuck? Who the hell? He's black. He's officially black now, bro. This is beautiful. They shot him. He was like, yeah, I'm having a fight. He was fine. He was doing like this and walked out with an American flag on him. Like this. He put one of these like, I'm a real nigga. Fuck, nigga, I'm out of here. That's hard, bro. I wasn't even finna vote. I'm voting now, dog. He got it. He won. I wasn't even finna vote. I had no skin in the game. I like, that nigga got shot. He won. Fuck the bullshit. He had real ops, nigga. What the fuck? Joe Biden's biggest op is the stairs. That's it. He had real ops. Somebody really tried to listen. That's how you know he a real nigga, bro. Joe Biden has been trying to kill himself his whole presidency. So nobody had to kill this nigga. Nobody had to try to kill it. Trump been just ready to go his whole time, and like, we gotta fucking off his ass, and missed. And just skit this ear and miss. That's crazy, bro. Hey, Mexican nigga, you fuck with Trump? Yeah? Hell yeah.
There we go.
Huh? You say amen?
There we go.
He not God, nigga. What the fuck? That was crazy.
I'm crying now. That's funny though, because there's a lot of people too I've been seeing and hearing too. Like, I was listening to Alex Jones little live streams, and they talk about like pray for Trump, praise Trump, da da da. And I'm like, all right, y'all taking it a little too far now. You hear me? Ain't nobody about to sit here and idolize that man. That man is not God. He is not Jesus, and he is not unkillable, right? He just was in the right place, turned his head at the right time. Like, literally, if it was a real scenario. And then I heard this from Candace Owens, y'all. Check this out. I'm a fan of her. I love her because I think she's pretty as hell. I don't care. I don't care what anybody say. But look, let's listen to what she got to say.
Have got to be kidding. Let me say something right now. Take this to the bank, okay? That person was allowed to scale that roof, okay? I am not some individual who's trying to assess situation and have never been around the president of the United States. While Trump was in office, okay, was around him a lot. And let me tell you something. The Secret Service, there is no person that can get around the perimeter of the Secret Service where Donald Trump is without them being aware of it. I am not kidding when I say that my husband once almost got shot by the Secret Service because he came down a staircase. I was speaking at the NRA, and he snaked in and came down, and they didn't know who he was. And they were like, freeze, 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 freeze. Like, we will shoot you right now. So you're telling me that guy walked up and was trying to get the attention, and the Secret Service saw him, and he's pointing, and he's saying, this guy's got a gun, this guy's got a gun, and they're pretending they don't know what's going on? I mean, am I crazy? Do you guys actually believe this was a failure in intelligence? All of these Secret Service agents crawling around, and you don't think just what that guy said, that is common sense, okay? They're trying to now tell us that common sense is a conspiracy. That is the new thing that they're trying to tell the public. Common sense is a conspiracy. You're telling me this guy was able to walk up with a rifle in his hand and scale a roof, and you don't think the Secret Service, and let me tell you, they get there days before. Let me tell you how a security apparatus is supposed to run. Days before, they get in and they look at every possible angle in which somebody could hurt the president. Okay? And I'm not even talking about once you get to the Secret Service. I'm talking about if you just have security in general. Before you speak, they will go, hey, this is the stage? Okay, let me tell you. That right there is a problem. They'll mark that as a spot. That right there is a problem. We need to know who this person is. They'll knock on doors, okay? They got to figure out every possible angle that any individual could potentially get on a roof, because you know what? This has happened in the past. People have been shot from roofs. People have been shot from windows. There is a 0% chance that some random person with a rifle was able to scale a roof, unless there was just an unbelievable failure.
She said,
intelligence. And you want to know why it's unbelievable? Because I don't effing believe it. I don't believe it. I want the names of the Secret Service agents that allowed this remarkable security failure to go down. Because I don't believe this. I'm done with this. I don't believe this, not for 1 second. Having been around the president, having literally almost watched my husband get shot because he came down the wrong set of stairs at the NRA, screaming at him. And I jump in front of someone like, don't shoot him. That's my husband. And you're telling me they knew he was going to speak and they weren't worried about the roofs? A roof with an angle to shoot the president. This guy says 50 yards away. He watched this. You have got.
And you know what? When you look at it from that perspective, it's like, yo, so what you saying? Like, is she saying that they tried to set him up from within? Like, is that what she's trying to say? I mean, I don't know. But like I said, check this out.
It just happened. I haven't even had a second to process.
Bull crap. I don't know. All I know is I've been all over social media ever since this happened, and I'm crying because he called Trump his vice president Trump. It's just a lot. Look, check this out.
Officers that were looking for something or somebody. I was looking around myself and seeing a guy on top of one of the buildings go in between one building to the next, and went and told the officer that he was up there. And when I went back to my spot, I heard that people could still see the person from where they were standing. So I checked that out, and I went back to tell the officer that if he came over there, he could see them. And when I turned my back is when the shots started, and then it took me a second or two to figure out exactly what it was. And then it was just getting out of there and helping some other person out with her child, and we got out, and that was the end of that. And I went and left, and that was all.
So the viewers have some perspective behind us, okay?
I'm not even gonna lie. Even if this was staged, it's still crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it's still crazy. Let's continue.
Is the American Glass Research Company, okay? Can you kind of describe the building behind us, the tan building right there? Can you take a look at it? And then where was the shooter exactly?
There's more buildings behind the tan building that we can see. And we were back there, and there's two or three buildings behind that, and he was on both of them. I assume both of them when he went on that small section from one to the other, and that was where I last saw him, was the end of his day.
So this man was able to basically climb to the next building, and you told law enforcement, hey, there's a guy over there.
Correct. I don't know how he got up there. I don't know any of that, but I definitely saw him up there, and that was all I know.
So they saying they told the cops, and people was just oblivious, like acting oblivious, like they don't know what's going on. Like they don't know what's going on. It's just nuts. Look, we got another one.
But we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know. But we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police are like, huh, what? You know, like, they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here.
Yo.
You know, he's crawling.
If I could show y'all, that would have been funny.
And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes?
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of any of this. I don't know what to make of any of that. All I know is what I learned from my research, understanding this version of history. It just makes sense. The propaganda Democratic time machine is always activated, is active 24/7. They do not shut that bad boy off. It's running off unlimited batteries that they over there slaving in the coal mines, right? Since they want to put EV cars out there on the market so efficiently, right? Or in abundance, right? They got unlimited battery power to run that Democratic propaganda machine. And like I said, like we learned throughout this live stream, for those who tuned in throughout this entire live stream, like we learned, a lot of this stuff was created during the Reconstruction era. During the era in time where black people were DK supposedly earning their stripes in America. They created this Democratic Party to sabotage the people. It's crazy, man. It's crazy when you learn. When you research and learn, it's crazy. I wanted to talk more about the Incas and the Tartars today, right? Then I wanted to talk about the evolution of the Eskimo or the Inuit, just to defer them from us, because they not like us, but that's who these Native Americans are. There's a lot to expose. I got a lot to expose, man. So much more content coming. Check out the podcast on Morals and Money, man. We just got the studio, so we're gonna try to be as productive as possible in that bad boy. Try to deliver some real good podcasts, history podcasts coming soon. Breaking the Black Barrier, the official podcast, hosted by yours truly. Right, got a lot new stuff coming. The coloring book is out. It's available on Amazon. Copper Colors. Make sure you go check it out. I'll give you guys a sneak peek now. I haven't really made an advertisement for it yet, but I'll make one real soon. But since I got y'all here now, just check it out. I mean, it's pretty dope. Pretty dope. You know, you can get it on Amazon. You know, we got the copies on hand. So either way, however you want to go about it, you know, is available for purchase. You know, I'm doing a giveaway. You can follow me on Instagram at Copper Color King or at King Willow. You know, DM. Like I said, the first 5 people I get from the YouTube community to inquire about these coloring books, I'm sending it to you on the house. On the house. So yeah, man. Copper Color King, man. Copper Color Love. We really go crazy, bro. And this is what I do it for. I do it for this specific reason. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Drop a comment if you rocking with the content. Send this to a friend. Send this to your auntie, your uncle, moms, pops. Give them some insight on what they should be learning. We're going to bounce back with that Reconstruction era too. I'm 5 chapters in. We only covered 1 chapter. I had to like dip off, talk about the commie NAACP, and now we got to talk about the origins of this democratic bullcrap here in America. But we're going to finish talking about the Reconstruction era just so that I could enlighten folks on what was going on in America from 1861 to 1900. Like I said, man, I appreciate y'all. Like, comment, and subscribe. Live every weekend. Sunday, every weekend. Make sure you check out the next one. Let's get it.